Empires are usually remembered for their armies, their flags, and their borders. But the most powerful empires in history weren't built by swords alone. They were built by money. This is the story of financial empires and how wealth, not warfare, ruled the world. When we hear the word empire, we imagine vast territories conquered by force. Roman legions marching across Europe. Mongol horsemen sweeping through Asia. British ships ruling the seas. But behind every great empire stood something even more powerful than soldiers, a financial system. A financial empire is not defined by land alone. It is defined by control over money, trade, credit, and trust. Financial empires influence economies far beyond their borders. They fund wars, shape governments, and decide who prospers and who collapses. So, what exactly makes a financial empire? First, it controls capital, large amounts of money or resources. Second, it controls flows, trade routes, payments, and credit. Third, it controls trust. People believe in its currency, institutions, or systems. With these three elements, an empire can dominate the world without conquering it. Let's begin with one of the earliest financial empires in history. The Roman financial empire. Rome was not just a military superpower, it was a financial machine. The Roman Empire created one of the first large-scale monetary systems. Gold, silver, and bronze coins circulated across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Roman roads weren't built only for armies. They were built for trade and taxation. Rome standardized currency, taxation, and accounting across its empire. Taxes funded armies, infrastructure, and administration. But Rome also shows a warning. When emperors debased currency, reducing gold and silver content, inflation followed. Trust collapsed. Prices rose. The financial system weakened long before the empire fell militarily. Rome teaches us a key lesson. Financial empires collapse when trust disappears. Venice. The empire without land. Venice was a city built on water, with almost no land to conquer. Yet for centuries, it dominated global trade. Venice became a financial empire by controlling trade routes between Europe and the East. It developed advanced banking systems, government bonds, and public debt centuries before most nations. The Venetian government guaranteed loans, stabilized currency, and protected merchants. Investors trusted Venice more than kings. Venice didn't conquer countries, it controlled commerce. That is the power of a financial empire. The Medici Bank. Banking as power. In the 15th century, the Medici family of Florence built Europe's most powerful banking empire. They financed popes, kings, and merchants. Their influence spread across Europe, not through armies, but through loans. The Medici understood something revolutionary. If you control credit, you control decisions. Rulers who owed money listened carefully. Cities dependent on loans followed Medici interests. This banking empire shaped politics, religion, and culture. Florence became rich. The Renaissance flourished. Art, science, and architecture followed money. Financial empires don't just shape economies, they shape civilizations. The Dutch financial empire. In the 1600s, the Netherlands became the world's financial capital. Despite being a small country, the Dutch created the first modern stock exchange, the first multinational corporation, and one of the most advanced banking systems in history. The Dutch East India Company allowed ordinary investors to buy shares. Risk was spread. Capital flowed freely. Trade exploded. Amsterdam became the world's bank. The Dutch proved that financial innovation could outperform military size. While others fought wars, the Dutch financed them, often lending to both sides. That's the ultimate financial power. The British financial empire, Britain's empire, is often remembered for colonization, but its true strength lay in finance. London became the world's financial center. The Bank of England stabilized currency, managed debt, and financed wars. Britain perfected government bonds, insurance markets, and global trade finance. The British pound became the world's trusted currency. Even after losing colonies, Britain retained financial influence. That's the difference between territorial empires and financial empires. Land can be lost. Financial systems endure. The American financial empire. After World War II, a new financial empire emerged, the United States. The U.S. didn't conquer the world. It rebuilt it, using money. The Bretton Woods system made the dollar the global reserve currency. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank spread American financial influence worldwide. Global trade, oil markets, and international banking began operating in dollars. The U.S. gained enormous power, not just through military strength, but through financial dominance. Sanctions, interest rates, and capital flows became tools of influence. Modern empires don't invade. They regulate access to money. Are financial empires good or bad? Financial empires create growth, stability, and innovation. They connect markets and enable development. But they also create inequality, dependency, and vulnerability. When a financial empire collapses, the shock spreads globally, as seen in the Great Depression or the 2008 financial crisis. This raises an important truth. The bigger the financial empire, the greater the global risk. The digital age, a new financial empire? Today, we may be witnessing the birth of a new kind of financial empire. Tech companies control payment systems. Cryptocurrencies challenge central banks. Data is becoming as valuable as gold. Power is shifting from nations to networks. The question is no longer who controls land. The question is who controls money, data, and trust. History shows us that financial empires rise quietly and fall loudly. Understanding them helps us understand the world we live in. Because money has always been more powerful than armies, and the greatest empires in history were built not with swords, but with systems. If you want to understand power, follow the money. If you want to understand history, study financial empires.